The cathedral fell silent as the last words hung in the air like poison. I can't marry someone like her. James stood tall at the altar, his face twisted with cruel resolve as he looked down at Sophia Rivera, her elegant wedding gown cascading. Around her wheelchair, like broken promises, guests shifted uncomfortably in the pews, their whispers cutting through the sacred space with the sharpness of knives. Sophia sat frozen, her pianist's fingers trembling against the armrests of her wheelchair. After years of believing she had finally found someone who saw beyond her disability, who loved her for the music she created and the woman she was, reality crashed down with devastating clarity. Her dark eyes, once bright with joy moments earlier, now brimmed with unshed tears. "You knew what you were getting into," she whispered, her voice carrying through the cathedral's perfect acoustics. "You said it didn't matter." "I was wrong," James replied coldly. "I thought I could handle it, but I can't spend my life with someone who needs so much." The heavy wooden doors of the cathedral suddenly burst open with a thunderous crack. Silhouetted against the bright Boston sunlight stood a tall figure, his presence commanding immediate attention. As he stepped into the aisle, recognition rippled through the crowd. Nathan Blackwood, the reclusive tech billionaire whose name inspired both awe and fear in equal measure. His cold gaze swept over the scene, settling first on James, then shifting to Sophia, with an intensity that seemed to hold secrets. Without a word, he walked deliberately toward the altar, each step echoing like a judgment. No one moved to stop him. No one dared. "Ms. Rivera," he said, his voice unexpectedly gentle as he reached her. "I believe this ceremony has concluded." Then, to the astonishment of everyone present, he knelt beside her wheelchair and whispered words only she could hear. "It's time to claim your true inheritance." The cathedral fell silent as the last words hung in the air like poison. "I can't marry someone like her." James stood tall at the altar, his face twisted with cruel resolve as he looked down at Sophia Rivera, her elegant wedding gown cascading around her wheelchair like broken promises. Guests shifted uncomfortably in the pews, their whispers cutting through the sacred space with the sharpness of knives. Sophia sat frozen, her pianist's fingers trembling against the armrests of her wheelchair. After years of believing she had finally found someone who saw beyond her disability, who loved her for the music she created and the woman she was, reality crashed down with devastating clarity. Her dark eyes, once bright with joy moments earlier, now brimmed with unshed tears. "You knew what you were getting into," she whispered, her voice carrying through the cathedral's perfect acoustics. "You said it didn't matter." "I was wrong," James replied coldly. "I thought I could handle it, but I can't spend my life with someone who needs so much." The heavy wooden doors of the cathedral suddenly burst open with a thunderous crack. Silhouetted against the bright Boston sunlight stood a tall figure, his presence commanding immediate attention. As he stepped into the aisle, recognition rippled through the crowd. Nathan Blackwood, the reclusive tech billionaire whose name inspired both awe and fear in equal measure. His cold gaze swept over the scene, settling first on James, then shifting to Sophia, with an intensity that seemed to hold secrets. Without a word, he walked deliberately toward the altar, each step echoing like a judgment. No one moved to stop him. No one dared. "Ms. Rivera," he said, his voice unexpectedly gentle as he reached her. "I believe this ceremony has concluded." Then, to the astonishment of everyone present, he knelt beside her wheelchair and whispered words only she could hear. "It's time to claim your true inheritance." Before Sophia could respond, Nathan rose to his full height, his tailored black suit contrasting sharply with the festive decorations. Two people had entered behind him, a severe-looking woman with steel-grey hair and a younger man whose watchful eyes surveyed the room with practiced precision. "Mr. Harlow," Nathan addressed James in a voice that carried authority without raising its volume. "Your services are no longer required." James seemed to shrink under Nathan's gaze. "I don't understand. Who are you to—" "I'm someone who recognizes value when others are too blind to see it," Nathan interrupted. Then, without waiting for permission, he moved behind Sophia's wheelchair. "Wait," Sophia protested, finding her voice at last. "I don't know you. I don't—" "You will," Nathan said simply. "Ms. Chen," he called to the grey-haired woman, "please ensure Ms. Rivera's belongings are collected and delivered to the estate." The woman nodded briskly and stepped aside as Nathan began wheeling Sophia down the aisle. Sophia's hands gripped the armrests, her mind racing. This man, this stranger, whose face she'd only seen in business magazines, was essentially kidnapping her in front of everyone, yet no one moved to stop him, not even her own friends. "My parents," she said desperately, though her adoptive parents had passed years ago. The lie was instinctive, a last attempt to break free of this surreal situation. "Lisa and Marcus Rivera were wonderful people," Nathan replied without missing a beat. "They would be disgusted by today's display." Sophia's breath caught. How did he know her parents' names? As they reached the doors, she caught a glimpse of James still standing at the altar, his face a mixture of confusion and relief. He made no move to follow, no gesture of protest. 3 years of relationship, 18 months of engagement, dissolved in a moment's cowardice. Outside, a sleek black car waited, its engine purring softly. The young man who'd entered with Nathan rushed ahead to open the door, revealing an interior specially modified to accommodate a wheelchair. "This is kidnapping," Sophia said, trying to sound defiant despite the tears still threatening to spill. Nathan's expression remained unreadable. "Is it kidnapping to rescue someone from public humiliation? To offer sanctuary when no one else would step forward?" "I don't need rescuing," she insisted, even as the evidence of her tear-streaked face argued otherwise. For the first time, something like compassion flickered across Nathan's face. "Perhaps not. But you do need answers, Ms. Rivera. Answers I've waited a very long time to give you." With practiced ease, he helped transfer her from the wheelchair to the car seat, folding the chair with surprising familiarity before storing it in the trunk. As they pulled away from the cathedral, Sophia watched her wedding guests spill onto the steps, their faces blurring through her tears. "Where are you taking me?" she finally asked as Boston's streets gave way to the coastal highway. "Home," Nathan replied simply. "To Blackwood Manor." The name carried weight, even to someone who avoided society pages. Blackwood Manor, the mysterious coastal estate that had spawned countless rumors of technological marvels, of secretive gatherings, of a recluse who wielded more power than most governments. "Why?" Sophia demanded. "Why would you do this? You don't know me." Nathan's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, dark and unfathomable. "That's where you're wrong, Sophia. I know everything about you, your favorite Chopin nocturne, how you take your coffee. The fact that you were diagnosed with Charcot-Marie tooth disease at age 7. A chill ran through her that had nothing to do with the car's air conditioning. "Are you some kind of stalker?" The stern woman, Ms. Chen, made a sound that might have been laughter quickly disguised as a cough. "No," Nathan said quietly, "I'm your brother." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Sophia had been an only child, or so she'd always believed. Her parents had never mentioned a brother, let alone one who would now be one of the wealthiest men in America. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Is it?" Nathan countered. "Have you never wondered why your fingers move so naturally across piano? Keys? Why music speaks to you in ways others can't understand? Genetics, Sophia. The same blood runs through our veins." "My parents would have told me," she insisted, though doubt was already creeping in. There had always been sealed documents, conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, cryptic comments about protecting her from the past. "They were trying to protect you," Nathan said, as if reading her thoughts. "From the truth, from the danger, and from me." As the car crested a hill, Blackwood Manor came into view, a sprawling modern structure of glass and stone perched on a cliff over the Atlantic. Unlike the cold, forbidding mansions Sophia had imagined, it seemed to embrace the landscape, to breathe with it. "I don't understand any of this," Sophia said, her voice barely audible over the car's engine. Nathan's eyes met hers again in the mirror, and this time she caught something unexpected: vulnerability, perhaps even fear. "I know," he said softly, "but you will. Today was never supposed to happen this way. I had planned to approach you privately after your honeymoon, but when I learned what that coward planned to do—" His hands tightened on the steering wheel, until his knuckles turned white. "How could you possibly have known what James would do?" Sophia challenged. "Because men like him are predictable," Nathan replied, bitterness edging his voice. "They see difference as weakness, uniqueness as burden. I've spent my life watching people underestimate those they perceive as broken." The car turned through ornate gates that opened automatically as they approached. As they pulled up to the main entrance, Sophia noticed something she'd missed from a distance: ramps alongside every staircase, wide doorways, a home designed with accessibility in mind. "Welcome to Blackwood Manor, Sophia," Nathan said as the car came to a stop. "Welcome home." Blackwood Manor was unlike anything Sophia had ever seen. As Ms. Chen guided her wheelchair through the entrance hall, she was struck by the contradiction of the place: cutting-edge technology seamlessly integrated with warm, natural elements. No cold, sterile surfaces or clinical accessibility features. Instead, the entire home seemed designed to be both beautiful and functional for someone with mobility limitations. "Your suite is ready, Miss Rivera," Ms. Chen informed her, her tone softening slightly. "Mr. Blackwood thought you might appreciate some time to process before dinner." "Process?" Sophia laughed bitterly. "Process being abandoned at the altar or being kidnapped by a stranger claiming to be my brother?" Ms. Chen's expression remained impassive. "Both, I imagine. And it's not a claim, it's a fact." She led Sophia to an elevator concealed behind what appeared to be a wooden panel. The doors opened to reveal a spacious suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Atlantic. Like the rest of the house, everything was accessible: lowered counters in the bathroom, a bed at the perfect transfer height, closets with pull-down rods. "How did he know?" Sophia whispered, taking in the thoughtful details. "Mr. Blackwood has been preparing for your arrival for years," Miss Chen replied. "He'll explain everything at dinner, 7 o'clock. Ring if you need anything." She gestured to a sleek panel on the wall before departing. Alone at last, Sophia wheeled to the windows, watching waves crash against the cliffs below. The enormity of the day crashed over her similarly: the public humiliation, James's betrayal, and now this bizarre claim of family connection. She had always known she was adopted, but her parents had told her nothing about her birth family. Could Nathan Blackwood truly be her brother? And if so, why reveal himself now in such a dramatic fashion? Her wedding dress suddenly felt suffocating. In the closet, she found clothes in exactly her size, including adaptations for ease of dressing. From a wheelchair, the precision was unsettling. After changing and freshening up, she explored the suite, finding a sleek tablet on the bedside table. Curiosity overcoming caution, she powered it on. The screen lit up with her name and a simple welcome message. But what caught her eye was a folder labeled Rivera Family Archives. With trembling fingers, she opened it to find dozens of photos. Her recitals, graduations, even casual moments she'd never realized were being documented. More disturbing were the surveillance reports detailing her daily routines, medical appointments, and relationship with James. He's been watching me my entire life, she murmured, a chill running through her. Another folder was titled Blackwood Heritage. Inside were birth certificates, hers and Nathan's, showing the same parents, Elizabeth Sinclair and Richard Blackwood. Documents detailed how, after their mother's death, 2-year-old Sophia had been separated from her 11-year-old brother Nathan when Richard Blackwood was arrested for financial crimes. "My God," she whispered, memories shifting in her mind. The lullaby her adoptive mother claimed was Sophia's favorite as a baby. Had someone else sung that to her first? The instinctive way her hands had found piano keys at age 4, as if remembering rather than learning. A light knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Ms. Rivera?" The young man from earlier, Nathan's security, she presumed, stood in the doorway. "Mr. Blackwood asked me to escort you to dinner." "And if I refuse?" Sophia challenged. The man, barely older than herself, offered a small smile. "Then I deliver your refusal, and Mr. Blackwood sends dinner here instead. You're not a prisoner, Ms. Rivera." "Just a rescue project," she muttered, but followed him nonetheless. The dining room continued the theme of accessible luxury. A table at the perfect height for her wheelchair, no obstacles in her path. Nathan stood as she entered, his imposing presence softened somewhat in the warm lighting. "Thank you for joining me," he said, gesturing to a place set for her. "Did I have a choice?" she asked, positioning her wheelchair at the table. "We always have choices, Sophia." His dark eyes, so like her own, studied her face, "even when they're difficult ones. Like your choice to stalk me my entire life?" She gestured to the tablet she'd brought with her. "Or your choice to humiliate James?" "James humiliated himself," Nathan countered, his voice hardening. "And as for watching over you, yes, I made that choice the day they took you from me. I promised myself I would find you again." Sophia felt her world tilting once more. "Why now?" she whispered. "After all these years, why reveal yourself today?" Nathan's expression changed, vulnerability breaking through his controlled exterior. "Because," he said softly, "I'm running out of time." "Running out of time?" Sophia repeated, studying Nathan's face. Despite his youthful appearance, she now noticed signs she'd missed before. The subtle strain around his eyes, a certain pallor beneath his tanned skin. "ALS," he said simply. "Diagnosed 18 months ago. Progressive, but slower than some cases. The doctors give me perhaps another year of relative independence." The revelation landed with unexpected weight. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. A death sentence delivered in 3 letters. "I'm sorry," Sophia said automatically, the words feeling inadequate. Nathan waved away her sympathy. "I didn't bring you here for pity. I brought you here for truth. And for what comes after." Ms. Chen appeared silently, serving a meal that somehow incorporated Sophia's favorite foods without her having mentioned them. The woman's efficiency was both impressive and unsettling. "You should know," Nathan continued as they ate, "that Blackwood Technologies isn't just smartphones and AI algorithms. Our medical division has been working exclusively on neurodegenerative diseases for the past 5 years. Understanding dawned since your diagnosis. Before, actually, I've always been attentive to genetics. Our mother died young of complications from Charcot-Marie tooth, the same condition that affects you. Our father died in prison of ALS. I've been watching for symptoms since I was 20. The clinical way he discussed their shared genetic doom struck Sophia as both cold and bizarrely intimate. These inherited diseases, one slowly stealing her mobility, the other potentially taking his life, were the biological chains that linked them. "So, this is about your research?" she asked. "You need my DNA, my participation in some clinical trial?" Nathan's expression hardened. "This is about family, Sophia, about legacy, about ensuring that what I've built doesn't fall into the wrong hands when I'm gone." And those hands would be Eleanor Harrington. The name was familiar. A media mogul whose empire spanned news networks, entertainment studios and digital platforms. Your business rival? Sophia clarified, remembering headlines about their corporate battles. My enemy, Nathan corrected, and she was our father's enemy before that. The woman has built her career destroying others. She bankrupted our father, manipulated evidence to ensure his conviction, and then used his stolen intellectual property to launch her own empire. Sophia set down her fork. That's quite an accusation. It's the truth. And now she's positioning herself to take control of Blackwood Technologies through a series of shell companies and venture capital firms. Without proper succession planning, everything I've built will be dismantled after my death. And where do I fit into this corporate chess game? Sophia asked, tension tightening her shoulders. Nathan's dark eyes fixed on hers. As my only living blood relative, you're my heir. The only person I can trust with my legacy. The absurdity of the situation struck Sophia then, sitting in a wedding dress hours earlier, now discussing inheriting a multi-billion-dollar technology. Empire? You can't be serious, she said. I'm a pianist. I know nothing about running a global corporation. You're more than a pianist, Nathan countered. You're a Blackwood. Intelligence, determination, and adaptability run in our blood. His expression softened slightly. And you wouldn't be alone. I have a year to teach you, to introduce you to the right people. Sophia shook her head, overwhelmed. This is insane. You can't just appear in my life after 30 years and expect me to step into some dynastic succession plan. I don't even know you. That's precisely why I intervened today, Nathan replied. James Harlow was never going to marry you. What? He was hired by Eleanor Harrington to get close to you, to monitor you. When my condition worsened and I began making legal preparations to name you as my heir, she needed to ensure you wouldn't be a factor. That's paranoid, Sophia whispered, but doubt crept in. James's sudden abandonment, the timing, his inexplicable cruelty after years of seeming devotion. Is it? Nathan raised an eyebrow, sliding a tablet across the table. These are communications between James and Harrington's personal assistant. They go back 2 years, shortly after you first met him. With trembling hands, Sophia read the messages. James discussing her schedule, her health, her emotional vulnerabilities, reporting to Harrington like an employee. The final message, dated yesterday, wedding called off tomorrow as planned, compensation to be wired after confirmation, the betrayal cut deeper than the public humiliation. Every moment, every intimate conversation, every promise, all fabricated as part of a corporate espionage operation. I think I'm going to be sick, she murmured. Nathan's voice gentled. I know this is overwhelming, but now you understand why. I had to act today. Eleanor Harrington has made her first move against you. She won't stop there. What does she want with me? To eliminate you as a threat, either by destroying your reputation or worse. Nathan leaned forward, urgency in his eyes. I can protect you, Sophia, but only if you let me. Sophia barely slept that night, her mind racing with revelations. The suite Nathan had prepared felt both welcoming and alien, a space designed perfectly for her by someone who was simultaneously a stranger and her closest blood relative. She had spent hours examining the documents on the tablet, pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known existed until today. By morning, exhaustion had given way to a strange clarity. If even half of what Nathan claimed was true, her entire life had been shaped by forces she'd never understood. She needed answers, real ones, not just the carefully curated evidence Nathan had provided. A soft knock at her door revealed Ms. Chen as precisely put together at 7 a.m. as she had been the previous evening. Good morning, Miss Rivera, Mr. Blackwood. I thought you might like to join him for breakfast on the terrace. I'd prefer to speak with him in his office, Sophia replied firmly. If I'm to consider his Proposal, I need more than family photos and screenshots. Something like approval flickered across Ms. Chen's normally impassive face. Very well, I'll inform him. Nathan's office occupied the eastern wing of the manor, its glass walls offering views of both the ocean and the forested portion of the estate. Unlike the intimidating executive suite Sophia had imagined, it was a living workspace, multiple screens displaying data, prototypes of devices scattered across surfaces, and one wall dedicated entirely to neuroscience research. Nathan stood as she entered, looking less formidable in casual clothing. Good morning. I trust you slept well? Not particularly, Sophia answered honestly. I have questions. I expected nothing less. He gestured to a space cleared for her wheelchair at his desk. Ask anything. Why didn't you find me sooner? The question had burned in her since yesterday. If you've had these resources, this power, why wait until now? Nathan's expression tightened. I tried when I was younger. At 18, I hired private investigators to locate you. They found the Rivera family, but by then you were thriving, talented, loved, stable. Your adopted parents had given you everything I couldn't, so you just watched from a distance. I made sure you had opportunities, the scholarship to Juilliard, the anonymous donor who funded your first recording, the accessible performance venues that suddenly welcomed you. Sophia felt a chill. That was all you. Not directly. I created a foundation that supported young musicians with disabilities. You were exceptionally talented. You would have succeeded anyway, but I removed some barriers. And my parents? Did they know about you? Nathan nodded slowly. They knew you had a brother. I approached them when you were 16, asked to meet you. They were protective, concerned about my background, my father's criminal history. We agreed I would wait until you were 21, but you didn't contact me then either. No. For the first time, Nathan looked truly uncomfortable. By then, Eleanor Harrington had identified you as my potential weakness. Her company ran a hit piece on rising musicians, singling you out for exploiting sympathy with your disability. Remember that? Sophia flinched. The article had nearly destroyed her confidence, coming just as her career was gaining momentum. That was because of our connection, she asked, horrified. Harrington couldn't reach me directly, so she targeted you. After that, I realized any acknowledgement of our relationship would put you at risk. His hands clenched on the desk. I kept my distance to protect you, until your diagnosis, yes. Nathan stood, moving to the research wall. ALS changed everything. I needed to secure Blackwood Technologies against Harrington's takeover attempts, and more importantly, I needed to ensure our medical research continued. He gestured to a complex molecular diagram. This is CRISPR-based gene therapy targeting. The SOD1 mutation, the specific ALS variant I inherited from our father. It shows promise in early trials. For you? Too late for me, but potentially in time for the next generation. His eyes met hers. Your children, should you choose to have them, would have a 50% chance of inheriting CMT. My research could change that. The statement hung in the air between them, a future now impossible with James, a genetic legacy Sophia had rarely allowed herself to consider. What exactly do you want from me, Nathan? She asked quietly. Beyond being your heir? Partnership. He replied without hesitation. Your perspective on our medical research, your name and face for our foundation supporting disabled artists, and eventually your leadership of the company's humanitarian initiatives. And if I refuse, then I find another solution. You'll still inherit my personal wealth, and I'll continue to ensure your safety from Harrington. But Blackwood Technologies will likely be dismantled, the medical research abandoned. Something shifted in Sophia's understanding of the man before her. For all his control and calculation, Nathan Blackwood was frightened, not of death, but of leaving his work unfinished. "What happened between you and Eleanor Harrington?" she asked, sensing they'd reached the heart of the matter. "This goes beyond business rivalry." Nathan's expression darkened. "She was our father's business partner. They pioneered early neural interface technology together. When he refused to weaponize their research for military applications, she fabricated evidence of financial fraud. He went to prison. She took their patents, and her media empire buried the truth. And you've been fighting her ever since?" "Someone had to." His voice was soft, but carried the weight of decades of purpose. "Our father wasn't perfect, but he didn't deserve what happened to him. What happened to us? The pieces were aligning. Now, Nathan's secrecy, his watchfulness, his determination to keep Blackwood Technologies independent. This wasn't just about business, it was about justice delayed. Sophia's phone chimed with an incoming message. She glanced down to see James's name, her stomach tightening instinctively. The message was brief. "We need to talk. It's not what you think. Meet me at our cafe, please." She looked up to find Nathan watching her, his expression unreadable. "James?" he asked, though it clearly wasn't really a question. "Yes," she admitted. "He wants to meet." "Harrington's next move," Nathan said grimly. "Right on schedule. You can't seriously be considering meeting him," Nathan said, his voice taut with concern. He stood at the window of his office, tension visible in the set of his shoulders. "I need to hear what he has to say," Sophia replied, her fingers hovering over her phone screen. "Maybe there's another explanation." After seeing those messages, Nathan turned to face her. "Sophia, James Harlow has been monitoring you for Harrington for years. This is a trap. Or it's damage control," she countered. "If he's exposed, he thinks I know everything, he might reveal information we can use against Harrington." Nathan studied her, something like respect flickering in his eyes. "You're more strategic than I expected." "I'm a professional musician," Sophia said with a hint of bitterness. "Navigating competitive environments while disabled requires strategy." Moving away from the window, Nathan settled into his chair again. "If you're determined to do this, we need to be careful. Harrington isn't just ruthless in business. There have been accidents, convenient deaths around her operations. You think she'd harm me? In public?" "I think she's desperate," Nathan replied. "My diagnosis isn't public knowledge, but in business circles rumors spread. She knows I'm planning succession, and that makes you an immediate threat." Sophia considered this. The James, she thought, she knew would never hurt her, but that James had never existed. The man she'd almost married was a construct, a role played to perfection. "I'll meet him," she decided, "but not alone, and not where he expects me." "That's reasonable," Nathan said, reaching for his phone. "Ethan can—" "Not your security team," Sophia interrupted. "No offense, but I've only known you for a day. I need someone I trust." Nathan's eyebrows rose. "And who would that be? Your wedding guest didn't exactly rush to your defense yesterday." The observation stung because it was accurate. In that moment of humiliation, not a single person had intervened, not her colleagues from the symphony, not her friends from music school, not even her maid of honor. "Mira Zhang," she said finally, "my accompanist for the last 3 years. She couldn't attend the wedding because of a family emergency. She's the only person who's never treated me as a charity case or inspiration porn." Nathan nodded slowly. "Ms. Chen can arrange for her to be brought here." "No," Sophia said firmly. "I'll call her myself, and we'll meet James at Blackwood Tower tomorrow. Neutral ground, somewhere public, but secure." Something shifted in Nathan's expression, a mixture of surprise and what might have been pride. "You've thought this through." "I've had all night," she replied dryly, "and I'm not naive enough to believe I can handle this alone. I want your resources, but on my terms." "Spoken like a true Blackwood," Nathan murmured. The comment sparked an unexpected warmth in Sophia. For someone who had spent her life feeling different, the suggestion of belonging to something, someone, carried peculiar weight. "There's something else you should see before you make your decision," Nathan said, pressing a button on his desk. A hidden panel in the wall slid open, revealing a small climate-controlled room. "This might help you understand why this matters so much to me." Inside was what could only be described as a shrine to their shared past. Photographs of their parents, childhood toys, and most striking of all, a beautiful antique piano. "Mother's piano," Nathan said softly. "The one she taught me on, the one you used to crawl to before you could even walk. You were drawn to it instinctively. She said you had perfect pitch even as a toddler." Sophia wheeled closer, a strange sense of déjà vu washing over her. "I remember something. Warm hands guiding mine on the keys, a woman's voice." "Elizabeth Sinclair Blackwood," Nathan confirmed. "Prodigy pianist turned neuroscientist. She was studying the connection between musical ability and neurological development when she died. Her research formed the foundation of everything Blackwood Technologies has built." With trembling fingers, Sophia touched the keys, half expecting them to be out of tune after decades. Instead, a perfect middle C resonated through the room. "You've maintained it," she whispered. "I've maintained everything," Nathan replied, his usual composure slipping to reveal raw emotion. "Our history, our legacy, our potential. Harrington tried to erase all of it. Our father's reputation, our mother's research, even your connection to the Blackwood name." Something clicked in Sophia's mind. "The article that nearly derailed my career. It wasn't just because of you. It was because of who I am, who we are." Nathan nodded grimly. "Harrington has been systematically dismantling our father's legacy for 30 years. When you began gaining recognition as a pianist, just like our mother, she couldn't risk the connection being made." Sophia turned from the piano, facing her newfound brother directly. "I'll meet with James tomorrow," she said, decision crystallizing, "and I'll hear what he has to say. But I think it's time I learned exactly what it means to be a Blackwood." As if on cue, her phone chimed with an incoming call from Eleanor Harrington Media Group. Nathan and Sophia exchanged glances of surprise. "It seems," Nathan said dryly, "that we're moving from the opening gambit to the middle game more quickly than expected." Steeling herself, Sophia answered the call, pressing the speaker button so Nathan could hear. "Ms. Rivera," came a cultured female voice. "This is Eleanor Harrington. I believe we need to talk about your brother and what he hasn't told you." Sophia's finger hovered over the end call button. Her eyes locked with Nathan's. His expression had hardened into something unfamiliar. Not the controlled businessman or concerned brother, but something darker. "Ms. Rivera, are you there?" Eleanor Harrington's voice filled the silence. "I'm here," Sophia replied, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. "I'm just wondering why the CEO of a media empire is personally calling a pianist she's never met." A throaty laugh came through. "The speaker. Aren't we past such pretenses? Nathan is there with you, I presume, always so protective of his little sister." Nathan moved closer to the phone but remained silent, letting Sophia lead the conversation. "What exactly do you want, Miss Harrington?" Sophia asked. "To offer you what your brother won't, the complete truth." The woman's voice was smooth, cultured, radiating a confidence that came from decades of wielding power. "Nathan has painted quite a picture for you, I imagine. The saintly father wrongfully convicted, the brilliant mother taken too soon, the devoted brother watching over you from afar. And you have a different version?" "I have the factual version, my dear. Richard Blackwood was convicted because he was guilty, not just of financial fraud, but of dangerous experimentation. The neural interface technology we developed was never meant for military applications. It was meant to help people like you." Nathan's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. People like me, Sophia repeated, a familiar defensiveness rising. Those with neurological conditions, Harrington clarified. Your mother's Charcot-Marie tooth disease was progressing rapidly. Richard became obsessed with developing technology that could bypass damaged neural pathways. His methods became extreme. What does this have to do with me? Sophia demanded. Everything. Nathan hasn't told you why he's really been watching you all these years, has he? It's not brotherly affection, it's scientific curiosity. You're the control group, Sophia. The natural progression of the genetic condition compared to his enhanced state. Nathan stepped forward. That's enough, Eleanor. Oh, he speaks. Harrington sounded almost delighted. Tell her, Nathan. Tell her about the experimental treatments your father subjected you to. Tell her why you never developed symptoms of CMT despite carrying the gene. Tell her what's really in the injections you take weekly. Sophia looked at Nathan, searching his face for denial, for reassurance that Harrington was lying. What she saw instead was conflict, shame, and something that looked disturbingly like guilt. Nathan, she whispered. The prototype neural interface, he admitted quietly. Father adapted it when I was 7. It was crude by today's standards, but effective. It prevents the protein misfolding that causes CMT symptoms. The revelation landed like a physical blow. All these years, while Sophia had struggled with progressing weakness, with painful surgeries, with a world not built for her body, her brother had been spared the same genetic fate by technology she'd never known existed. You see, Harrington's voice was sympathetic now. He's not trying to cure you, Sophia. You're his baseline, the before to his after. His research isn't about helping people with disabilities. It's about creating enhanced humans who never experience limitation at all. That's not true, Nathan snapped. The research has evolved. Yes, it began with Father's desperation to help Mother, but what we're developing now could help millions. By erasing them, Harrington countered. By declaring certain genetic expressions defective and eliminating them. That was always Richard's vision: perfected humans, not accommodated ones. Sophia felt sick, her mind spinning with implications. Why are you telling me this? Because I believe in informed consent, Harrington replied. Something the Blackwood men never concerned themselves with. You deserve to know what you'd be aligning yourself with before you become Nathan's puppet heir. I'm nobody's puppet, Sophia said sharply. Prove it, Harrington challenged. Meet with me, alone. I'll show you everything. The original research, Richard's journals, the evidence that never made it to trial. Then make your decision with all the facts, not just the carefully curated version Nathan has presented. Don't, Nathan warned. It's a trap. Perhaps, Harrington conceded. Or perhaps I'm the only one being honest with you. Think about it. Sophia, I'll send a car tomorrow at noon. The call ended, leaving a heavy silence. Sophia turned to face Nathan, anger and confusion warring within her. Is it true? Have I been some kind of control subject in your research? Not like she makes it sound, Nathan said, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of rare agitation. Yes, I've compared your progression with my lack of symptoms, but only to improve the treatment. The treatment you never offered me, Sophia said quietly. It wasn't ready. Nathan's voice rose with frustration. Father's prototype was experimental, dangerous. The version I use still has significant risks. I've spent my entire adult life trying to perfect it, to make it safe. Enough for you. So I have been your baseline, Sophia concluded, her voice hollow. Nathan knelt beside her wheelchair, his eyes level with hers. You've been my motivation, he corrected softly. Everything I've built, everything I've done, it's been to fix what Father started, to make something good come from his mistakes. Sophia searched his face, trying to separate truth from manipulation. And Eleanor Harrington, what's her real role in all this? Exactly what I told you, Nathan said grimly. She wants the technology, not to help people, but to control them. Neural interfaces that started as medical interventions could easily become surveillance tools, behavior modification systems. Why would I believe you over her? I barely know either of you. Because I'm your brother, Nathan said simply. And despite what she claims, I've never lied to you. I may not have told you everything at once, but nothing I've said is untrue. Sophia wheeled slightly away, needing distance. I need to think, she said. Alone. As she headed toward the door, Nathan called after her. Sophia, whatever you decide. About meeting Harrington, don't go alone. She paused without turning. Why did you really come for me yesterday? Was it actually about protecting me from James? Or was it just to secure your company's future? Nathan's answer was quiet but firm. I came because you're my sister. Everything else is secondary. The music room became Sophia's sanctuary that afternoon. Located in the eastern wing of Blackwood Manor, it housed not only her mother's antique piano, but also a collection of modern instruments, including a Steinway grand positioned near floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Ms. Chen had shown her the space without comment, as if understanding Sophia's need for the solace only music could provide. Her fingers found Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, almost by muscle memory, the piece she always turned to when overwhelmed. The notes filled the acoustically perfect room, each phrase helping to organize the chaos of her thoughts. Was Nathan manipulating her, using their blood connection to secure his corporate legacy? Or was Harrington the manipulator, trying to drive a wedge between newly reunited siblings to further her own agenda? Both possibilities seemed equally plausible and equally disturbing. As the final notes of the nocturne faded, Sophia became aware of someone listening from the doorway. Not Nathan, as she'd half expected, but Ethan, the security specialist who'd been silently present since her arrival. I'm sorry, he said, stepping back. I didn't mean to intrude. How long have you been standing there? She asked, not entirely. Displeased by his presence, there was something steadying about Ethan, no agenda evident in his quiet competence. Long enough to know that Blackwood Technologies should be funding your recordings, not just your performances. He offered a small, genuine smile. That was beautiful. Thank you. She studied him more carefully now, perhaps 30, with observant eyes that missed nothing and a stillness that suggested military training. How long have you worked for my brother? 3 years, he replied, since the first attempt on his life. Ethan moved into the room, maintaining a respectful distance. Someone tampered with his car. Brake lines cut. The official report called it an accident. Mr. Blackwood knew better. Sophia's hands stilled on the keys. Nathan never mentioned that. He wouldn't. Ethan's voice carried certainty. He doesn't like appearing vulnerable. Did he suspect Harrington? There was no proof. Ethan hesitated, then added, For what it's worth, I've been monitoring your ex-fiancé since your brother identified him as a potential threat 6 months ago. Whatever James Harlow is, he's not violent. A paid informant, yes, but not an assassin. The statement was oddly reassuring. Why are you telling me this? Ethan met her gaze directly. Because you're trying to decide who to trust, and everyone has an agenda except you. You deserve some objective information. And your objective? Sophia challenged. I'm paid to protect Blackwood interests, he acknowledged, but that now includes you. Your safety is my priority, regardless of which Blackwood you choose to align with. His frankness was refreshing after hours of calculated revelations and strategic disclosures. If I wanted to meet with James tomorrow, would you help me do that safely? I would, Ethan confirmed without hesitation. Though I'd advise having the meeting here rather than at Blackwood Tower. We can control the environment better. Sophia considered this. And if I wanted to meet with Eleanor Harrington? Something flickered in Ethan's eyes. Concern, perhaps. That would be considerably higher risk, but yes, I would help ensure your safety. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, though they were alone. But Ms. Rivera, you should know that Harrington's interest in you emerged precisely when Mr. Blackwood's condition worsened. The timing isn't coincidental. You know about his ALS? Ethan nodded. I'm one of 3 people who do. His security team needs to be prepared for all contingencies. Before Sophia could respond, her phone chimed with a text message. Mira, her accompanist and friend, confirming she could come to Blackwood Manor that evening. Sophia felt a wave of relief. Someone from her own life, someone with no connection to either Nathan or Harrington. I need to speak with my brother, she said, decision crystallizing. Where is he? In the laboratory downstairs, Ethan replied. He's due for his treatment. The basement laboratory of Blackwood Manor was unlike anything Sophia had imagined. Not a sterile white research facility, but a space that blended cutting-edge technology with almost medical aesthetics. Nathan sat in what looked like a modified dentist's chair, electrodes attached to his temples and spine, while Ms. Chen prepared an injection. He looked up as Sophia entered, surprise and something like vulnerability crossing his features. I didn't expect to see you until dinner. I needed answers, Sophia replied simply, wheeling closer to observe the procedure. This is the neural interface treatment? Nathan nodded. A more advanced version of Father's prototype. The injection contains nanobots that repair damaged neural pathways and prevent protein misfolding. Does it hurt? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Like hell, but it works. Ms. Chen administered the injection with practiced efficiency, then quietly excused herself, leaving the siblings alone. Could it help me? Sophia asked directly. Theoretically, yes, Nathan admitted. But there are risks I've been unwilling to take with your health. The treatment occasionally causes seizures, temporary paralysis, in one case permanent memory loss. Yet you take it yourself. I don't have a choice anymore. His voice was matter-of-fact. The ALS progresses too quickly without it. For you, traditional management of CMT has been safer. Sophia studied her brother's face, searching for deception and finding only exhaustion. I've decided to meet with both of them, she said. James and Harrington here where it's secure. I need to hear all sides before I make any decisions about my future. Nathan nodded slowly, the electrodes at his temples gleaming under the laboratory lights. That's fair, but Sophia, whatever they tell you, remember that they've had years to perfect their narratives. I've had one day to share 3 decades of history. I know, she replied softly. That's why I'm not making any decisions yet. But I need you to promise me complete honesty from now on. No strategic omissions, no carefully curated evidence. Everything, good and bad. Everything, Nathan agreed, his dark eyes, so like her own, steady and serious. Starting with the fact that the Blackwood Technologies Board meets next week to vote on my succession plan. With or without your cooperation, I've already named you as my heir. Mira Zhang arrived at Blackwood Manor as the sun began to set, her usual composed demeanor faltering slightly as she took in the imposing structure. Unlike the wedding guests who had watched Sophia's humiliation in passive silence, Mira had called repeatedly since hearing about the disaster, her concern genuine and immediate. This is not what I expected, she said as Sophia greeted her. In the manor's entrance hall, when you said you were staying with a friend, I pictured a beach house, not Batman's summer residence. Sophia laughed despite herself. It's complicated. So I gather, Mira replied, her keen eyes taking in not just the luxury of the surroundings, but also the security presence and the careful accessibility features. You're going to tell me what's really happening, right? Because the abandoned at the altar story is all over social media, but something tells me there's much more to it. There is, Sophia confirmed, leading her friend toward the private sitting room where she'd asked Nathan to meet them. But it's going to sound unbelievable. Nathan was waiting as they entered, standing near the fireplace with a deliberate casualness that didn't quite mask his evaluation of Mira. He'd changed since the laboratory, no visible evidence remaining of the treatment he'd undergone hours earlier. "Ms. Zhang," he greeted her, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." Mira shook his hand firmly, her expression betraying none of the awe most people exhibited when meeting the infamous tech billionaire. "I came for Sophia." "Not for you, Mr. Blackwood." Nathan's eyebrows rose slightly, the ghost of a smile touching his lips. "Exactly the loyalty I'd hoped for in my sister's friend." "Sister?" Mira turned to Sophia, surprise breaking through her composure. "That's part of the unbelievable story," Sophia said, gesturing for everyone to sit. "Nathan is my biological brother. We were separated after our mother died when I was 2. Over the next 30 minutes, they provided Mira with the condensed version of events. The Blackwood family history, James's betrayal, Harrington's threats, and the succession plan that had brought everything to a head. Mira listened without interruption, her expression shifting from skepticism to shock to focused determination. "So basically," she summarized when they finished, "Sophia discovers she's the long-lost heir to a tech empire on the same day her fiancé reveals himself as a corporate spy. Now a media mogul with a 30-year vendetta is trying to manipulate her, while her newfound brother needs her to secure his legacy before his health deteriorates." She looked between them. "Did I miss anything?" "The experimental neural interface technology," Sophia added dryly. "Don't forget that part." "Right," Mira nodded. "The potentially revolutionary medical breakthrough that could either help millions or become dangerous in the wrong hands." She turned to Nathan. "And you believe Harrington wants this technology for nefarious purposes?" "I know she does." Nathan replied, "Neural interfaces that can repair damaged pathways can also modify healthy ones. The potential for manipulation is immense." Mira considered this, her analytical mind, so valuable in interpreting complex musical scores, now processing a different kind of complexity. "Okay," she said finally. "What do you need from me, Sophia?" "Perspective," Sophia replied honestly. "Everyone else involved has an agenda. Nathan, Harrington, James, they all want something from me. I need someone who just wants what's best for me." "And what do you want?" Mira asked, cutting to the heart of the matter as she always did. It was the question Sophia had been avoiding since arriving at Blackwood Manor. What did she want? The comfortable life she'd built as a pianist seemed impossible to return to now, yet Nathan's world of corporate intrigue and technological power struggles felt equally foreign. "I want the truth," she said finally. "All of it, not just the parts. Each side wants me to hear. I'm meeting with James tomorrow morning and Harrington in the afternoon. I want you there for both conversations." "As a witness?" Mira asked. "As a bullshit detector," Sophia corrected with a small smile. "You've always seen through people's facades. I need that clarity now more than ever." Mira nodded, her decision made. "I'm in." Nathan, who had remained silent during this exchange, leaned forward. "You should both know the risks. Harrington won't hesitate to use anyone close to Sophia as leverage." "I'm already on her radar," Mira pointed out. "I was supposed to be the maid of honor at a wedding orchestrated by her operative. If anything, acknowledging me now is safer than leaving me as an unaddressed vulnerability." Something like respect flickered in Nathan's eyes. You've thought this through. I'm a professional musician in a field dominated by men who believe women can't possibly understand Mahler, Mira replied dryly. Strategic thinking is a survival skill. The dynamic in the room had shifted. No longer Nathan and Sophia against the world, but a tentative alliance of three against the unseen threats surrounding them. There's something else you should know, Nathan said, his expression growing serious as he looked at Sophia. After our conversation this afternoon, I had Ms. Chen pull the medical research relating to your specific CMT variant. The treatment I'm using could potentially halt your disease progression with minimal risk. He hesitated. I should have shared this possibility sooner. The admission hung in the air between them, not quite an apology, but perhaps the closest thing to vulnerability Nathan was capable of showing. Why tell me now? Sophia asked quietly. Because you demanded complete honesty, he replied simply. And because whatever you decide about Blackwood Technologies, about the succession plan, about Harrington, your health should be a separate consideration. The treatment is yours if you want it, regardless of anything else. Before Sophia could respond, Ethan appeared at the doorway, his expression tense. Mr. Blackwood, he said urgently, we have a situation. James Harlow has just arrived at the main gate. He's demanding to see Ms. Rivera. James is here. Sophia's pulse quickened, adrenaline flooding her system. This wasn't according to plan. James was supposed to meet her tomorrow, on her terms, with proper preparation. He's alone, Ethan added, his professional demeanor firmly in place. No visible weapons, but he appears distressed. Nathan's expression hardened. Send him away. We'll stick to the original plan. No. Sophia's voice was firmer than she expected. Let him in. If he's desperate enough to come here uninvited, he might be off script. That gives us an advantage. Nathan and Mira exchanged glances, both clearly concerned about this change in strategy. I'll be right here, Mira assured her, moving to sit closer to Sophia's wheelchair. We all will, Nathan agreed. Ethan, bring Mr. Harlow to the main receiving room. Not here. Let's maintain some control over this situation. Ethan nodded and disappeared to carry out the instruction. Are you sure about this? Nathan asked Sophia as they moved toward the formal receiving room. He's spent years deceiving you. Don't underestimate his ability to manipulate your emotions. I won't, Sophia replied, though his concern touched her. But remember, until yesterday, I believed I was going to spend my life with him. I need to hear whatever he has to say. The receiving room, with its formal seating and strategic positioning, had clearly been designed for potentially adversarial meetings. Nathan took position near the fireplace, while Sophia positioned her wheelchair in the center of the room, Mira standing supportively behind her. When Ethan escorted James in, Sophia was struck by how different he looked from the confident man who had abandoned her at the altar just yesterday. His clothes were rumpled, his usually perfect hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept. Sophia, he breathed, relief evident in his voice. Thank God you're okay. His eyes darted to Nathan, then back to her. You need to leave with me. Now. You're not safe here. That's quite the reversal from yesterday, Sophia said, keeping her voice steady despite the turmoil of seeing him again. When you decided you couldn't marry someone like me in front of 200 guests. James flinched. That wasn't real. None of it was real. I had to do it. They were threatening my sister. His voice cracked. Harrington's people said they'd cancel her medical insurance if I didn't follow through. She's halfway through chemotherapy, Sophia. I couldn't risk it. The explanation was so unexpected, so specific in its desperation, that Sophia felt her carefully constructed anger wavering. Why not tell me, she asked, if you were being coerced because they were watching? James ran a hand through his hair in agitation. They've been monitoring our communications for months. Every call, every text. Why do you think I always insisted on those long walks on the beach when we needed to discuss anything important? Nathan stepped forward. A convenient explanation, Mr. Harlow. Do you have any evidence of these threats? James turned to him, eyes narrowing. You're one to talk about evidence, Blackwood. What proof have you given Sophia of anything you've told her? She doesn't know you. She's known me for 3 years. Known an elaborate fiction, Nathan countered. Not everything was a lie. James's voice rose with emotion as he turned back to Sophia. Yes, Harrington hired me to get close to you initially. Yes, I reported on your activities. But what happened between us, that was real. I fell in love with you, Sophia. That wasn't part of the plan. The sincerity in his voice was painfully familiar, the same tone that had convinced her to trust him, to love him, to accept his proposal. How convenient, Mira interjected, her skepticism evident. You fell in love with your Mark, but continued spying on her for 2 more years? I was trying to protect her, James insisted, by feeding Harrington selective information, keeping her satisfied, while I figured out a way for us to disappear together. Sophia studied his face, searching for the tells of deception she now realized she should have seen all along. There was desperation there, certainly. But was it genuine fear for her safety, or simply fear of exposure? Why come here, she asked. Why now? Because Harrington's escalating everything. James lowered his voice, leaning closer. After the wedding, after Blackwood took you, she called me in. She's not just planning to neutralize you as a corporate threat anymore, Sophia. She wants the neural interface technology, and she thinks you're the key to getting it. Nathan tensed visibly. Explain. James hesitated, clearly weighing how much to reveal. The original Blackwood neural interface, the prototype your father created, it doesn't just work on people with the genetic predisposition. It could potentially work on anyone, enhancing neural function beyond normal human capacity. Harrington believes Sophia might have access to it through her genetic connection to you, even if she doesn't know it. That's absurd, Nathan said dismissively. The technology doesn't work that way. Maybe not, James conceded, but Harrington believes it does. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to extract that information, voluntarily or otherwise. The implication hung heavy in the air. She would harm Sophia? Mira asked, horror evident in her voice. Not directly, James replied grimly. Harrington doesn't get her hands dirty, but the people she employs. He turned to Sophia, his eyes pleading. That's why you need to leave. Come with me. I have a safe house prepared where we can lie low until this blows over. Or until you deliver her directly to Harrington, Nathan suggested coldly. James spun toward him. If that was my plan, I could have taken her yesterday before you arrived at the church. I've had countless opportunities. The argument held a certain logic that even Nathan seemed unable to immediately dismiss. I don't trust either of you completely, Sophia said quietly, commanding everyone's attention. Nathan, you've hidden things. From me, important things about my health, about our family. And James, you've been living a double life for years, regardless of your justifications. She straightened in her wheelchair, a new resolve settling over her. But I do believe there's real danger from Harrington. So here's what's going to happen. James, you're going to tell us everything you know about Harrington's plans, every detail. And Nathan, you're going to share everything about the neural interface technology, not just the sanitized version, but the full truth. I need complete information from both of you to make any decisions going forward. Nathan and James regarded each other with mutual distrust, neither willing to be the first to expose their vulnerabilities. This isn't a negotiation, Sophia added firmly. Either you both start talking, or I leave with Mira right now and figure this out on my own. The ultimatum hung in the air for a tense moment before Ethan's voice broke the silence. Mr. Blackwood, he said from the doorway, his expression grave. We have another situation. Security systems are detecting unauthorized access attempts on our perimeter. Multiple points of entry. An attack? Nathan's voice was calm but razor-sharp with focus, immediately shifting from family drama to tactical defense. Ethan, initiate lockdown protocol. All security personnel to designated positions. The manor's atmosphere transformed instantly. Lights dimmed to emergency settings, and the faint sound of security shutters engaging echoed from distant parts of the building. "Is this Harrington?" Sophia asked, her heart racing as she turned to James. James paled. "This isn't her style, not so direct, but I can't rule it out. We need to move to the secure room," Nathan decided, nodding to Ethan. "Now." "Wait," James interjected. "This could be a distraction. If Harrington planted someone inside your security team, they'd know about your safe room protocols." Nathan's expression darkened. "My team is vetted extensively." "So was I," James countered. The painful truth of that statement hung in the air for a moment before Ethan's comm device crackled with urgent updates. 3 vehicles at the north perimeter, professional tactical team from initial assessment, he reported. "They've disabled the first layer of sensors." "This doesn't make sense," Nathan muttered. "Harrington wouldn't risk such an overt attack." "Unless she's desperate," Sophia reasoned. "If what James says is true about her believing I somehow have access to the neural interface technology." Ms. Chen appeared at the doorway, her usual composure intact despite the crisis. "The laboratory is secured, backup power engaged. Secure the research," Nathan ordered. "Protocol Omega." "Already initiated," she confirmed before disappearing again. "Mira, stay with Sophia," Nathan commanded as he moved toward a hidden panel. In the wall, it slid open to reveal a small arsenal of weapons. "I'm coming with you," Sophia insisted, wheeling forward. "If I'm the target, putting distance between us might be exactly what they want." "For once, I agree with her," James said, surprising everyone. "Splitting up is tactically unsound if Sophia is the primary objective." Nathan hesitated, weighing options with rapid calculation. The service elevator to the East Wing laboratory. It's reinforced, has independent power, and can be sealed from inside. Ms. Chen is already there with the research. As they moved through the manor's corridors, emergency lighting casting everything in a red glow, Sophia felt a strange calm settle over her. 24 hours ago, she'd been preparing to walk down the aisle. Now she was fleeing armed intruders in a mansion owned by a brother she hadn't known existed. "You're handling this remarkably well," Mira observed quietly as she helped navigate Sophia's wheelchair around a corner. "Shock, probably," Sophia replied with a grim smile. "I'll have a complete breakdown when this is over." The service elevator was tucked behind an unassuming door in what appeared to be a storage area. As they approached, gunfire echoed from a distant part of the manor. "They've breached the west entrance," Ethan reported, his hand moving to his weapon. Nathan operated the elevator controls, revealing a reinforced cabin large enough for all of them. "Everyone in. Now." As the doors closed, sealing them inside the descending elevator, Sophia looked at the faces surrounding her. Nathan, her newfound brother with his complicated truths. James, her ex-fiancé whose betrayal or loyalty remained uncertain. Mira, her one anchor to normal life. And Ethan, whose quiet competence had become oddly reassuring. "Whoever these people are," she said with unexpected resolve, "they've made one critical mistake." "What's that?" James asked. "They've underestimated what happens when you back a Blackwood into a corner." The laboratory beneath Blackwood Manor bore little resemblance to the elegant spaces above. Stark, industrial, and humming with advanced technology, it was clearly the heart of Nathan's research operation. As the elevator doors opened, Ms. Chen greeted them with a pistol, raised cautiously before recognizing the group. "Status?" Nathan demanded, striding into the space with practiced familiarity. "All research secured," Ms. Chen reported. "Security feeds show 8 intruders. Military precision, using non-lethal tactics consistent with extraction operation rather than elimination. They want someone alive." Ethan translated for Sophia and Mira's benefit. Me, Sophia said quietly. Nathan moved to a central control station, bringing up security feeds on multiple screens. The images showed masked figures methodically sweeping through the manor, using what appeared to be stun weaponry against Nathan's security team. Not Harrington's people, James observed, studying the tactical patterns. These are professionals, not corporate thugs. Government, Mira suggested. Nathan shook his head. No warrants, no announcements. Whoever they are, they're not operating officially. Sophia wheeled herself to the far side of the laboratory, where a glass enclosure contained what appeared to be medical equipment surrounding a central chair, similar to what she'd seen Nathan use for his treatment earlier. "Is this it?" she asked. "The neural interface?" Nathan joined her, something like pride mingling with concern in his expression. "The current generation, yes. Not Father's crude prototype, but the culmination of 20 years of refinement. And this is what everyone's willing to kill for?" "Not the equipment," Nathan clarified. "The proprietary algorithms, the nanotech, the methodology, the ability to bypass damaged neural pathways and create new ones, or modify existing ones," James added grimly from across the room. "We have approximately 12 minutes before they find the service elevator," Ethan announced, checking his weapon. "What's the plan, sir?" Nathan looked at Sophia, unexpected, vulnerability flashing across his features. "This is your decision. We can attempt to hold position here, or there's another way out, a tunnel that leads to the boathouse. We could evacuate by water." The weight of the choice settled on Sophia's shoulders. Everything had happened so quickly since yesterday, a whirlwind of revelations and dangers that had upended her carefully constructed life. Yet somehow, in this moment of crisis, clarity began to emerge. "Before I decide," she said, looking directly at Nathan, "tell me the truth about one thing. The complete truth. Does the neural interface technology work on non-Blackwoods? Could it be weaponized as Harrington believes?" The laboratory fell silent, all eyes turning to Nathan. His expression tightened, internal conflict visible in the set of his jaw. "Yes," he finally admitted. "Father's original prototype was designed specifically for Mother's condition, for Blackwood genetics, but in developing the treatment for my ALS, I discovered it could be modified to work on anyone." He hesitated. "The potential applications extend far beyond medical treatment." "Mind control?" Mira asked bluntly. "Neural suggestion," Nathan corrected. "Subtle influence rather than direct control. But yes, theoretically powerful enough to sway decisions, implant concepts, even modify memories." The revelation landed like a physical blow. Sophia looked at James, expecting triumph at Nathan's confession, but his expression showed only grim confirmation. "That's why Harrington wants it," James said quietly. "Imagine controlling what millions of people see through her media empire, then subtly influencing how they feel about that information." "And why you've kept it secret," Sophia added, understanding. "Dawning. It's too dangerous to release, too valuable to destroy." Nathan nodded. "I've been trying to find a way to isolate the therapeutic benefits without the cognitive influence capabilities. That's the research I wanted you to continue after I'm gone." A loud explosion shook the laboratory, dust drifting from ceiling tiles. "They've found the elevator shaft," Ethan reported tensely. "We're out of time." Sophia made her decision, resolve hardening her voice. "We evacuate, take the research. If Harrington or whoever these people are wants this technology, the most important thing is keeping it out of their hands." "And then what?" Mira asked as they moved toward the hidden exit Nathan had revealed. Sophia's eyes met her brother's across the room. "Then we take the fight to Harrington. Tomorrow she expects me to meet her on her territory. Instead, we'll face her with the truth, all of it made public. The neural interface, her corporate espionage, everything. That's incredibly risky, Nathan cautioned. So is doing nothing, Sophia countered. You've spent your life reacting to Harrington, playing defense. Maybe it's time for the Blackwoods to go on the offensive. Another explosion, closer this time. Philosophical. Debates later, Ethan urged, opening the tunnel entrance. Survival now.